on Anglo leasing want to get into it, open it up, close it, go around those winding stories we've had and see what we can come out of this conversation with. And of course, we want you to be part of it as well. We'll have our phone numbers on your screen and you can call in, share with us your thoughts, your views on all this. And gentlemen, joining me in studio this morning, we have Honorable Bonnie Halwale, Senator Kakamega County. Thank you for making time. Okay. And of course, Karanja Kabage, Advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Thank you as well and good morning to you both. Let's begin with the latest developments. Yesterday, PS Treasury coming out to say that in fact the payment had already been made. So by the time last week Thursday the president came out to address the nation and talked about a directive for this 1.4 billion shillings to be made. It's necessary because of the implications of not paying would be to find out that that had already been made, and now the intrigues coming across that at the time there was no written directive as required in the Constitution. There was an email from the spokesperson as emerged from that particular appearance before the committee, Emmanuel Sipisu, saying that there was that directive, but they did not have it at hand before dispatching the payment. Your thoughts, Mheshimiwa?
The focus will therefore immediately, in my view, turn to Parliament, because Parliament is expected to hold the government to account. By government, I mean the executive.
Yes.
It is expected to play a strong role of oversight. Now that the government has acted, the country will wait and see what will Parliament do. And therefore I want to congratulate Bob Namwamba and his team for what they did yesterday. That admission has got the following consequences.
Right.
The first one is that it has confirmed to Kenyans that yes, indeed, we are dealing with a digital government. A digital government that has no respect for the provisions of 135 that required that away from their digitalization, they should have seen a signed, a sealed directive from the president. So the consequence will be that in its oversight role, Parliament will now move on to the person who paid and ask him, why did you pay?
Who authorized you?
Yes. As far as I'm concerned, there's no authorization. What the president was saying was his wish. At some rally, at some homecoming in Bungoma, at some church in Kikuyu town, that was merely a wish. But if he was translating it into discharge of his duty, he needed to sign and seal that directive. Okay, so there are consequences. We'll be seeing a lot of that.
Kabaga, let's come to you. And when the president was making this speech, it gave the impression that he's giving a directive for payment to be made. But he knew it had already happened. So isn't that a little bit deceptive?
Well, I'm not sure about the sequence of what happened, because I remember watching the president.
PS is saying it had already been paid.
Well, okay, well,
yes.
What I saw in the press conference the president had, where he was expressing anguish that it's unfortunate he had to pay, was at State House.
Yes.
Senator Halwale here is right in saying that in the new dispensation, under Article 135 of the Constitution, the President's decisions and directives, they are supposed to be in writing, and therefore the PS or the Principal Secretary and anybody else who have been involved has to bear that in mind, because that's what is supposed to happen.
Right.
Now, what I cannot vouch is what exactly happened when the president said it is going to be paid. Did he sign the authority for payment? And maybe subsequent to that, his office may have transmitted information that please continue and implement this decision. So we are not very clear or sure exactly how the process happened. Now, the president can sign authority in his office. And before maybe it gets to the PAs, email or SMS can be sent, right? So that is something that,
But
as of
should
now,
action be taken before you receive that hard copy with that seal from the president? Does it
what
digital
the
as
Constitution
Mheshimiwa was saying?
says,
Yeah.
what the Constitution says, Section 35, is that the president's decision must be in writing. That's what it says. All right? Now, whether you have received those decisions or you are told the decision has been made in writing and therefore go ahead, it's something that we can't really tell for now.
There is another angle to it, Council.
Yes.
Okay.
That even if there exists a signed copy
Yes.
of his decision,
Yes.
the Constitution does not allow the president to overrule the control of budget. The control of budget had denied the government an opportunity to pay by saying, before I give my consent, you must subject this decision to parliamentary approval. So because they came to Parliament and Parliament refused, we are therefore persuaded that up till now, the control of budget has not approved. So even if the president has signed, it therefore means he is violating the Constitution insofar as the powers vested in the office of a constitutional office called the control of budget.
As I said, I am not quite clear about the sequence of how it happened. The issue you asked whether the president had complied with Article 135 of the Constitution. that is the issue. There may be procedures that ought to have been followed. But you see, there is also the question of the executive authority of the President of the Republic of Kenya. Now, when you are dealing with the external obligations, which have implications which may hurt the country, we may have to look at what exigencies, what leeway are there for the president. I am not very sure about exactly the entire process.
But in purely translating it as far as law is concerned,
Yes.
He made the confession. They did not have that written directive sealed from the president. Those are his words. Should they have made that payment without that, even if they'd been told it exists, but they did not have it in their custody?
The article what says that the president's decision must be in writing.
Okay, so that they didn't have it, there's a little bit of a question mark
now,
there.
Whether you have received that decision in writing, the Constitution has not expressed that. It says the decisions of the president must be in writing.
Council, that is the letter. That is the letter that it must be in writing.
Yes.
But what is the spirit? The spirit is that any officer under the president, therefore, who wants to act, the spirit, therefore, would be that I should wait and see.
Yeah, not be told by his spokesperson it's coming.
Okay, let's really look at the mischief.
Yes.
What informed the architects of our new constitutional dispensation to come up with a very specific article in the Constitution that the president must author, sign, and seal his decision? Now, we came from a background where, particularly when the issue of Goldenberg came up, there were very many people who were saying, I was given instructions verbally, all right? I was instructed to do ABCD. Now, it was intended, this particular Article 135 was intended to make sure that no more.
Which is precisely what we are arguing.
Yeah, just a minute.
Yeah.
No more decisions of the first of all, the president had expressly stated in the television that we are going to pay. That's what he said.
By which time it had already been done.
Well,
that's the, I guess,
But
we're not going to agree, I guess, on this.
You're an advocate. You're an advocate. Let me look at you as an advocate now.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
You're an advocate. You cannot defend me and convince a court of law just based on the fact that you saw on television. The judge, the court will expect you to give
Submit
evidence.
evidence.
And evidence in this case is the signed and sealed order by the president. It is not there.
Which they do not have.
They don't seem to have. And do you know why they are not producing it? I tend to be talked to by a lot of people. A professional who had a lot to do with the drafting of the Constitution and who would appear to know what he's talking about, informed me that as it is, this payment was made 3 weeks ago. So the reason why nobody might be nobody might be willing to bring the signed document is because, in fact, the payment might have been made a bit earlier
Than we thought.
And if it was, it has the following consequence. That the government lied to the Senate and lied to the National Assembly by pretending last week to come and seek for the consent of Parliament when the payment had already been made. Wow. And when we talk about it, it looks simple. The bigger consequence is that if we evoke sufficient anger in the hearts and minds of the MPs and senators, the president will be staring impeachment in his face because he has violated the Constitution. Does it?
Has he, put in that context, would you say, has he violated?
Let's just be very clear. I'm a lawyer.
Yes.
And therefore, I do not make conclusions without having evidence or having heard the story from both sides. Now, what we are hearing here, like, for example, the Honorable Senator has said, is that he heard from a knowledgeable person that there is allegation that the payment was made 3 weeks earlier. Now, I have no knowledge about that.
None of us do.
And therefore, for me, I will not sit here and express an opinion on something that there is no evidence.
Okay.
You get what I mean? So I think the issue is going to come out, I would assume, because Mheshimiwa is right. This issue has not been brought to closure. There will be inquiries. People will want to know what's happening. Now, for me, I would say, for now, let's just wait and see what evidence is going to come out. I do not want to prosecute or persecute anybody on the basis of hearsay or rumors. As of now, it will be very, very unlike a lawyer. That's what
the president, by his own word, has already pointed blame to where it is supposed to be emerging from. He has told us the State Law Office.
And which is the next place we want to take the discussion.
That's what he said. So we are saying, members of Parliament, please, I know you are very angry with what Waiguru has done, but I would rather that before you go there, you go for the Attorney General. The Attorney General, that is glaring. It is a greater violation of the Constitution, what the Attorney General has done, and which the President has confirmed that is where the problem is.
Well, I think
he pointed an accusing finger. You'll be right. In his speech, he said that they need to up their game, that Kenya cannot go on losing cases in international court.
Exactly.
There was no mincing words in as far as he was saying, you failed us as a state law office. And the Attorney General then came out to say, he gave advice. He tried to defend himself. He'd been thrown under the bus and said, you know what, I gave advice to the president. He chose to pay. I just told him that paying would perhaps be the good thing to do. What would you say?
I think, first of all, let us correct the impression that the president said that the Attorney General has violated the Constitution.
Not violated, failed.
No, Mheshimiwa, that is what he said here. But the point of the matter is this. Let us also be very clear. When a lawyer goes to court, there's one thing he can never give as a guarantee.
Right.
That I am going to represent you and I'm going to win a case. That cannot be a lawyer. Because you present your case before an impartial judge. He listens to evidence from both sides. He looks at the law. He looks at the facts. And if the facts, the law and the evidence do not conclude in your favor, you lose the case.
But that is the argument has been there, that not enough was put, that perhaps this case was lost because there was no intention from the very beginning to win.
I think let's go to the facts. I think what we need to do now is to try to look at specifically what are we talking about.
Okay.
Now, there are two cases that are being referred to here. One is first merchant
Before you go there, let's conclude this issue of the AG.
Yes.
You have said I'm wrong to say that he has violated the Constitution. I am not. You know why? Because of the provisions of Chapter 6, specifically Article 73, which provides that the Attorney General, while in the office of the State Law Office, shall perform and act in a manner that brings honor and respect to that office. And in so doing, he's expected to discharge efficiently. Here is an Attorney General Counsel who presented a feeble case in Sweden when this matter was up for arbitration in the International Court. He was expected to defend Kenya vigorously. He did not. We gave him an opportunity as Senate and invited him to come and give us the same evidence that he was pretending to be giving on camera when he was holding a press conference. He refused to come. We invited him as the AG. We invited Nje, the Solicitor General. We invited Dr. Thuge as the Principal Secretary for the National Treasury, and invited the assistant, not the assistant, the Deputy Solicitor General, Muthoni Kimani. They failed to honor that. And then, a few days later, they would rather they do what they should have done before the Senate committee, they do it through the media.
Okay.
That does not in any way bring honor to the office of the
So how has he violated the Constitution?
He has breached Article 73 of the Constitution of Kenya. And the Attorney General, as he watches this program, he has it on his table. He even doesn't have to refer, because to him, being a constitutional lawyer and a professor, he knows law in and out, as does senior counsel here.
Now,
Before you respond, let's take a call from Mohammed. Then let's hear what you'll have to say on that. Mohammed, good morning. Mohammed? Hello? Hi.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Morning.
Mohammed?
Hello?
Yes, we hear you. Go ahead.
It's now that I'm hearing you. I'm Mohammed calling from Isiolo.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, about the Anglo leasing, is that I want to tell the lawyer that I even saw him yesterday in the KTN TV, the Jeff Kenange Live, is that for any decision of the president, the Constitution is clear, Article 135, that when he makes that decision, it should be in writing, sealed, and have the signature. That he didn't do. And if, for instance, even 10 years to come or 20 years to come, people can question those things. So if he did not sign for those things, he'll be on a safer side. He knows what he's doing. And then there's somebody who is going to get a problem. So I think the proper procedures were not followed. 2, Article 227 of the Constitution talks about procurement of goods and services. They should be fair, transparent, equitable, and cost effective. So these things, we are not getting good value of our money. And at the end of the day, we are the ones who are going to pay. The president will come and go. Leaders will come and go. But the citizens will bear the burden. So in a nutshell, let us not politicize it, because even lawyers today, when they are trying to interpret the Constitution, they interpret it from the side that they fit or from the positions they fit. So it's incumbent upon Dr. Khalwale, and I really support him, come out clearly as a senator in charge of the Public Accounts Committee, combine with others and then ensure that we are not able to pay these huge sums of money, because right now at northern area Isiolo, we do not have enough drugs. Children do not go to school. There is poverty, hunger. This money could make a difference, a lot of difference in the situation that there is. So let us be sober in our discussions, but ensure that any decisions that we take, it is based on prosperity of this nation. To Dr. Khalwale, take on as a bullfighter, continue. Don't fear, because you will come and go, but let history judge you. And to Kamau, the lawyer,
yes,
as a constitutional lawyer, please try to argue as a lawyer, because if you try to see out that case, there was conspiracy to defeat that, and this has been happening. I know even cases.
All right, Mohammed, thank you very much. Your point is made. We appreciate you for watching and calling in, and also putting into context at the end of the day is what that money that has now been paid out could actually do to improve the lives of Kenyans. We must not forget, that money has gone out and could have been done for, used for better things. But as you were to respond to what Mheshimiwa said, is to also look at this, the Attorney General has also, talked and described himself as the mortician, and the surgeon is the one who failed, and so now that the patient is dead, the surgeon, in reference to Amos Wako, should be the one to be taking all this blame for failing Kenyans.
This issue is very emotive and very emotional, and I think people need to be very sober and look at it for what it is. And that's what I said. First of all, I appreciate the caller, and it is important that we be sensitive to what are the facts of this case. I was explaining to you, and I said this. Let's go to the history of this particular two issues. One, I said there is the first merchant security corporation, and there is Universal Sat Space. What happened? In July 2001, contracts were signed for providing PCK, Postal Corporation of Kenya, with equipment, one for VSAT, another one for broadband, bandwidth. Okay? They were signed by the Ministry of Transport and Communication on behalf of PCK. That's what happened. The evidence that is in court, and I'm talking about the evidence that is in court, shows that there was performance of these contracts. There was performance. And we started paying the obligation up to 2004. I think somewhere July or August. Then we stopped paying for goods and services delivered. That's what the country did. What was the cause? The allegation was there was corruption, there was exaggeration of the price. Fine. So we stopped. These defendants went to court. These plaintiffs went to court. All right? One first merchant securities corporation went to court in Geneva. I like to tell my good friend, the senator, that they didn't go to Sweden. It was in
Geneva.
In Geneva.
Okay.
They went to Geneva. First, they went to a court, to what is called Geneva Tribunal of First Instance. Right? They presented the evidence. The Kenya government presented the evidence. It was rejected. They appealed to Geneva Court of First Instance. And they were told, let's proceed to the full hearing. They went for the full hearing. When they went for the full hearing, we lost. the case as a country. When we lost the case as a country, we had to pay. Let's go to this other one, Universal, Satspace. The case went to Court of Justice in England, right? When the case went to the court, we presented the evidence. After presenting the evidence,
Okay.
we lost the case.
We lost the case. I want us to we have the callers waiting on the line to just hear what they have to say. Douglas, good morning.
Hello, Sophia. Good morning, my dear.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Salamu ya Council and salamu to Mheshimiwa.
Okay.
Wamesalimika.
Asante.
Now, there's something I want us to understand as Kenyans, and I believe millions of Kenyans are listening in right now. The issue of the Anglo leasing, let us not dwell on the issue of what was done in the background, because there seems to have been a lot of fishy issues done. But the point I'm bringing out is the issue of His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and how he dealt with the issue. Let me give a different example in Uganda with the homosexual bill. When Museveni was under pressure, but out of his principles, he called the media, sat down and said, I'm signing this bill. I'm an African, I'm a leader, these are my principles. Whatever the consequences, I'll take them. For Uhuru Kenyatta, back in the days, I understand as being in the opposition, going to meet Mr. Gidongo, he was against it. As the president of 40 million Kenyans, he sees consequences that will affect his administration. If that was something he believed in as a man and as the president, he should have come out clearly and said, I'm signing this document, Kenyans. It is a bitter pill to swallow. I'm following the procedures and I'm doing it. Let history judge me as your leader. That is what we call leadership. Who is Mr. Esipisu to send an email to tell a government body to make? Who is Mr. Esipisu? Okay. And it doesn't make sense to me. And this is why His Excellency needs to go back to State House and understand the symbols of power he was given during his inauguration are not paintings to be put on a wall.
All right.
They are symbols of his authority.
Okay, Douglas.
That is what leadership is.
Thank you. Thank you, Douglas,
for watching. Thank you very much, my dear.
All right, thank you. We also have Dan on the line. Dan, good morning.
Good morning, Sophia. Good morning. How are you?
Very good. Thank you so much. Go ahead with your contribution.
Now, I want to say this, Sophia, because you see, I want to indicate to Kabage that when the Constitution clearly indicated in Article 135 that any decision made by the President must be in written, there was a reason behind. Sophia, you can remember very well the issue of the Golden Bag and what happened then, and the circus that went around between the President Moi and then the Kamreshkat Patini and the individuals who were involved. This is part of the reason why this decision was very clear that any kind of decision any president is going to make in this country has to be written. And I'm going to tell Kabage, let's not be economical with the truth, because you see, the truth is what is going to save this country from the kind of circus we are in. The truth of the matter is that Golden Bag, none knows it. We do not know who these people that the president was paying. We've been asking the names. We've not been told. I don't know whether Mheshimiwa Alwale, who is really working very well with Kenyans now, knows the individuals who are actually paying, because we need to understand that. Because you see, so vile hii ukiingia kwa supermarket, price ya unga imekuwa ni shilingi 125, and the president is busy paying 1.5 billion shillings. Digital that Kenyans do not know. Is this what the president calls digital? Is this what we expect this government? Okay. It is an embarrassment, and we've had professors, we've had people like Kabake who are being economical with the truth.
All right, Dan.
Come out clearly and tell Kenyans the truth, and the truth is going to bring us out.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for calling and for watching the show this morning. And there's a lot that can be said in as far as what happened, you know, at the courts and everything. But to touch on what Douglas said, the president's action, he came out to say he felt terrible that the payment had to be made. He came out to express that he was between a rock and a hard place, that there was no choice. Do you believe that that was the only way to go, Mheshimiwa, that Kenya, as it stood with the situation as is and as described by the government, there was no option but to pay?
Yes, I want to respond to that, but beg you to later on give me a few minutes to respond to the history of Anglo leasing.
All right.
I have been with it for many years, and I know quite a bit. Now, what the president did, painful as he has described it to himself, it's not enough. I would be the first senator to go public and tell Kenyans that let us support the president for paying the 1.4 billion. I would be the first, but on the following condition: that the president remembers what Public Accounts Committee that he chaired recommended. It recommended the following: that the 18 contracts of Anglo leasing, the ones which had already taken off, be renegotiated in strict adherence to the public procurement law. This was not done. It recommended that the perpetrators of those contracts be investigated and be taken before court. It recommended that after you have concluded all this, then you would tell Kenyans that according to the procurement, we should either pay or not pay. And then finally, it said that the ones that had not kicked off be terminated. So I would have expected the president, and I would have supported him about the payment, if upon paying, he said that I blame the AG for not defending the country, including not appealing. By the way, the AG did not appeal.
He's talking about an appeal.
I'll come to that. The case that was started...
But did he in essence not say that? He said he blames, or they didn't do a very good job.
They didn't do a good job.
But he said that, so why not support
the case that was started by Wako the surgeon, handed over a case which he had entered a defense in Europe to a fellow surgeon called AG Kidu. Kidu failed to defend it. So I would have expected that the president, on saying that I'm paying, he would then throw Kidu out of office. Second, the president, to show us the investigations that have been done against the perpetrators, so as again to hold them to account. And the people are there.
He's ordered fresh investigations, a fresh probe.
We do not need fresh investigations. Investigations have already concluded and confirmed that First Mercantile Company is owned by Anura Pereira. And we have also been told by Thuge, as he reported to Parliament yesterday, that a law firm that represents Anura Pereira has received the money. It's obviously going to give that guy. Why I want Kenyans to be sufficiently unhappy with this, I know. And Kabake, if you don't know, hear it from me. First Mercantile was not producing, delivering any equipment, telecommunications, or anything. Their role was simply that they gave a guarantee to SpaceNet and SatSpace when SpaceNet was giving broadband network and SatSpace was giving bandwidth network. That is it. He only gave the guarantee. So for having given the guarantee, the guy is demanding 980 million shillings, part of the 1.4. Really? If we're paying this Asian that fortune for merely saying, I guarantee, surely if you are the president of Kenya, and you know that this is an Asian who comes from this country, why would you not take action? You can pay, you can confiscate their property, the law will allow you, and sell that property and offset this thing.